When electricity first came on the scene, people thought about it as a lighting technology, a better candle. And if you thought about it this way, you would have predicted, brighter rooms, brighter roads, more nighttime activities. But you would have missed a whole lot of things. You would have missed refrigeration, electronics, the cinema, and everything that followed. This is a categorical error. So electricity wasn't a lighting revolution, it was an energy revolution. So it's a categorical error. And we're doing the same thing right now with artificial intelligence. We keep calling it a technology revolution, but it's not. It's an intelligence revolution. And that's also a categorical difference. It's a categorical error, if you like. How big is this revolution going to be? It's already begun, and the first stages we're familiar with. Now, this is the kinds of AI we're used to, your chat windows, you type something in, it comes back to you straight away. Your ChatGPT, your Claude, these kinds of things. But already, this is moving quickly to agents who can go off and work asynchronously while you're sleeping, while you're at the gym, do your work for you. So that's this sort of first wave of this AI or intelligence revolution. And it's already disrupting cognitive work everywhere. Now, the second wave is when AI gets a body, and this is these so-called humanoid robots. And there's about 100 companies around the world working on these already. And the best of these can already operate autonomously for many hours, doing the laundry, cleaning your house, doing the gardening. They're already in factories sorting mail, and soon they're going to be in nursing homes, hospitals, and a lot of our homes. So this second wave, if you like, is really when AI gets a body. And the so-called, blue-collar work that we feel like is safe for the moment is also about to be disrupted. So how big is this disruption going to be? Well, I think it's going to disrupt everything. And I don't use that phrase lightly. I do mean everything. First, everything that uses electricity, then everything that touches intelligence. So I'm a university professor, it's my day job, and universities are about to be massively disrupted by AI. And I just don't mean AI doing the teaching for me, I mean something much bigger. So we're soon going to have our own personal AI assistants on us 24/7. They're going to be tapped into the world's information. They're going to be smarter than any individual. They're going to be private, trusted, tapped into my physiology. They're going to know when I'm stressed, nervous, too sleepy. So in this world, what's the role of education? What's the role of a university? Do we still need universities? I think we do, but they're going to have to be very different. They're going to change. So it's not just universities, of course. Jobs are going to be massively disrupted. No matter what anyone says, the number of human jobs on the planet is going to shrink. They're building the AIs to do human work. But it's more than that. It's your children's education. It's your human relationships. It's your entertainment. It's your trust in everything you see and hear. It's even sort of the nature of reality you understand. Companies are going to become AIs. Whole economies are going to be disrupted by AI. Measures we have like GDP are going to become more or less useless. And even capitalism itself is going to take a big hit from AI. So this is where we are right now, and this is what I call the everything disruption. Everything, every strata of society that we interact with, we think of, is going to be disrupted by AI. Not right now, not tomorrow, but over the next decade or so. And we didn't really choose this, we didn't vote for it, but it's happening. A lot of this change is already locked in. It's happening whether we want it to or not. So we've had a taste of this kind of disruption before. So, for example, during COVID, we had a bit of a taste of this. But imagine that times 1,000, times 10,000, times 100,000. Yes, spread out over a longer period. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. So why aren't really intelligent, really capable people seeing this, forecasting it? Why don't we really feel it? Some of us, of course, are, but plenty aren't yet. Well, it's because for part of it, our brains are lying to us. So what do I mean by this? If I take a piece of paper and I fold it once or twice, it's a little bit thicker. If I keep folding it and folding it, once I've folded it about 42 times, that piece of paper now goes from the Earth all the way to the moon. And that's exponential growth. And we have a blind spot for that. Our brains can't understand it. We don't get it. We've evolved in a very linear world where each step I take is 1 more meter from the last. And so we don't get this exponential change at all. We under-predict. So what does this mean with AI? It means when we predict what's going to be happening next year or the year after, we take today and we kind of crank it up a little bit, maybe 10%, and we predict that as the future. But AI is exponential. It's doubling in speed and capacity about every 4, 5, 6 months, depending on how you measure it. Some would say it's hyper-exponential. So where does this take us? It takes us to this, where we're going to predict things out in a straight line, and what actually is happening is this sort of hockey stick exponential function. And that gap there, that gap is surprise. That's governments being caught flat-footed, it's companies being wiped out, it's jobs being lost, it's a whole lot of things. And it's not just one exponential, it kind of gets worse or more complicated. Right now, there's many exponentials happening. AI is kind of this tide that lifts all the boats in the water. So we're seeing exponential functions emerging across a range of fields, from material science, mathematics, physics, protein folding, rare disease work, all kinds of things. And where does this take us? It means that when you have this many exponentials and they're all interacting in complex ways, predicting the future becomes almost impossible. We can't do it. And that brings me to the elephant in the room, uncertainty. So we're in the midst of an uncertainty pandemic, if you like. The world is structurally less predictable than it's ever been before, and it's ratcheting up week on week. And the thing with uncertainty is it hurts. It triggers our brains. It's a stress stimulus. It's like seeing a venomous snake or spider. Sorry if that's a triggering image, I'll take it away. But simply not knowing the future activates our limbic system, our amygdala, and we feel the fear from that. Everyone to some degree, but some people more than others. So we're in the midst of this. And it really is this sort of new business as normal. It's not going away, it's here to stay. So I'll sometimes talk about we're in the midst of this uncertainty transformation. Now, back in the day, we went through a digital transformation, but this transformation is fundamentally more human. And the solution is more human as well. We have to learn not just to survive this uncertainty, but to thrive in this uncertainty. This fight or flight state that it puts us into hurts our well-being, it hurts creativity, innovation, and a whole lot of other things. So what can we do about that? Well, the first step is to embrace it. Right? You can't fight it. You can't make the world certain around you. You can try and surround yourself with certainty, but you're going to burn yourself out. It really is like trying to fight your way out of quicksand. You're going to sink deeper and deeper. So that's the first step. Accept it, embrace it. That's just the way the world is right now. And the second step is to understand why it's triggering, the stuff I was just talking about. Simply having brains like we do means that uncertainty is scary. It's triggering, it's causing stress and anxiety. So it's not a failing, it's not lack of education or intelligence or anything like that. It's simply the nature of having brains like we do. Then third, we can do something we call cognitive reframing in psychology. So taking examples of uncertainty and reframing them, telling yourself a different story about them. So there are lots of examples of uncertainty we really like horror films, roller coasters, fancy restaurants where you have no idea what the food is going to come out to your table. And the interesting thing is that the physiological state in your brain between this sort of stress version of uncertainty and that exciting version, like with a roller coaster, is very, very similar. The difference is really that story you tell yourself. So I invite you to find examples of uncertainty every day that put you in that discomfort, that you feel that little bit of stress, and practice framing that, reframing that as something positive, something exciting, something thrilling, filled with opportunity. So that's uncertainty, but really the bigger picture that's happening right now is change. massive structural change, like I mentioned earlier. Every level of society is going to be changing. And it's not about that change being good or bad. And this is a conversation that hijacks some of the AI talk. Is AI going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And that's the wrong question completely. It's about the magnitude and the speed of that change. So, for example, a surprising number of people who won millions in the lottery ended up regretting it just a few years later, historically. Right? They lost friends and family, they had mental health challenges, substance abuse problems. Then what did lottery companies do? They brought in change specialists. So psychologists, financial planners, lifestyle coaches to help them manage their way through this positive change. And now large sporting franchises do something very similar. So the point here is that even if somehow magically we could go from today to some kind of AI utopia of abundance, it's the change that would still get us. It would throw us into chaos. It would be too much to handle. We really don't handle change that well. Now, we've been working on change management plans that are specific for AI in my lab. And I won't go into the details tonight, but there's a fundamental difference between a lot of the change management plans that you've probably heard of that have been around in the business world for decades. Because the AI or the intelligence revolution is just going to have ongoing sort of change after change after change. And also the uncertainty, the resistance to that, all that sort of mental health side is much, much stronger when it comes to this kind of change. So AI-specific change management frameworks need to deal with those things. They need to do it differently. So the models we're kind of working on are scalable models that you can apply at home, in an organization, or to a whole nation. And this brings me kind of to what I think is the biggest policy gap in any country, anywhere in the world right now. What we need is something like this. Every nation on the planet needs an AI change plan to help every citizen take them through the next decade or two of this radical change. And we don't have that. As I said, this is exponential at the moment. It's hitting the vertical. We're about to hit the vertical. So when it comes to these kinds of policies, the chances of getting in on time, being on time, are almost impossible. You're either going to be too early or too late. And I think we'd all rather governments bring this in and be too early rather than too late. We've already seen this year already some violence around AI already, and things are just getting going. So just for a second, this is not a fun exercise, but just imagine what a city might look like when we hit 20, 30, 40, or 50% unemployment. What's that going to be like? Is it going to be Mad Max on the streets? We don't have a plan for this, and we need one right now. So what about the Terminator scenarios, the misalignment, the AI becoming sentient and deciding to wipe humanity off the planet? So you've probably heard these stories, these things from AI scientists. Well, I'm not dismissing them. They are important. They've been working on them for a while now, and they should continue to do so. But all those ideas have one thing in common. They're all hypothetical. They're all predictions about the future somewhere on the horizon. They haven't happened yet. What I'm talking about, this uncertainty, this change, is already begun. People are feeling the uncertainty. They're feeling the stress. They're worried about their mortgages already right now on the ground. So my take is we should be shifting resources to what's already happening rather than worrying about something that may or may not happen on the horizon. You might be surprised so far to think that, to hear that I'm actually a massive AI optimist. So I love the technology, if you want to call it that. I love technology in general. And I do think we are going to make our way to some kind of AI abundance, utopia thing. I don't know when. That's very, very hard to predict. But I think we can get there. But I'm an active optimist. And there's a clear difference between that and a passive optimist. A passive optimist just thinks, it'll be all right. We don't have to do anything. An active optimist says, we're going to be okay if we put in the hard work. So think of it this way. We need to build a bridge from where we are today to this sort of AI utopia on the horizon somewhere. And that bridge needs to be wide enough and strong enough to take 8 billion people across that bridge. And we haven't started building the bridge. We haven't even started the blueprints, the engineering diagrams for that bridge. Everyone just seems to be standing on this side of the bridge, looking over to the horizon, crossing our fingers and hoping we get there. So I invite you to go home, talk to your friends, family, colleagues, push your organization, any political leaders you know, the governments, to try and start thinking about this bridge. What would it look like? What can we do? I know these aren't, the most fun things to talk about, but they are really important. And we can't keep our heads stuck in the sand. We have to be thinking about this generally everywhere. And we need national AI change plans in every country, everywhere in the world. And I do think this is the most important issue right now. It supersedes all other projects happening on the planet. I know that's a controversial statement, but think about it this way. If we're going to be thrown into chaos from all this change, things that start crumbling, jobs, mortgages, whole economies, any other project, whether it be cleaning the oceans, the climate, these kind of things, they're going to be put on hold. They're not going to work. So this overall uncertainty and change has to be our number one priority as we move forward. So I do think if we can take sort of the humanity of this moment, think about the human side of everything that's happening and treat that as seriously as the technology, we can get there. We can have all the sort of golden promises of AI and minimize that downside. To say it another way, we can have our cake and eat it too. But really, if we just need to remember that the most important technology in the room has never been artificial. It really is the one between our ears, our brains, our minds, and our humanity. So I wish you well on this journey. And best of luck. Get out there, think about it, take any emotion you're feeling tonight and put that to good use. Thank you very much.